G'day folks, it's Rob here and welcome to our backyard farm and aquaponics YouTube channel. In today's clip I'm just going to be running through a couple of ideas I've had on how you can turn your root pouches into a self-watering gardening arrangement. Now for you folks who don't know, I actually do sell root pouches. This isn't an ad of sorts, or I suppose it is. I've just had a few people ask how I'd go about turning them into self-watering planters, so here's a couple of ideas. Now root pouches are made of recycled water bottles. They're BPA free, they don't leach toxins, and they're UV stabilized. So they're the sort of growing container that once you're finished with it, you can fold it down flat, stick it through the washing machine if it's a little bit too dirty, and then just pack it away until you start up your spring garden again, for you folks who wind down over winter. I like them because they're a porous, being a fabric. They allow air into the roots because roots do need a little bit of air. Not only that, they allow the roots to air prune themselves. The roots will grow to the fabric, they'll go through the fabric, the warm dry air on the outside will kill those roots off. New younger roots that are more efficient at taking up nutrients and water will then start growing from the base of the plant, and yeah, you end up with a happier plant all around. But yeah, what we're looking at today is a little unit I've set up using a 95 litre or 25 gallon root pouch. I've got a dog dropping a ball at my feet, sorry about that. There you go, Lizzie. It's just basically a little self-watering unit that's either a standalone thing or, you might want to set up on a veranda or balcony or something like that. So let's have a gander. So here we have a little dwarf Meyer lemon grafted citrus that I've planted in the 95 litre pouch or a 25 gallon pouch, and I've just got it sitting on top of a little bit of a tray, and I'll go through that in a second. These little dwarf citrus, they're pretty much all made for growing in small containers, so hopefully this one will do nicely for us. It's in a position at the moment where it's going to get a fair amount of winter sun, but the beauty of having this little tray underneath it is Bianca and I can lift the pouch off the top, then we can pick up this little tray and move it anywhere we want around the yard, and we don't have to worry about the roots from the tree going through the base and into the ground, basically anchoring the tree to one position. So with the build with this one, what I've done is actually cut down a wicking barrel. Wicking barrels are a little self-watering barrel system we've been using here for a while now. Those guys down there are 3 normal wicking barrels, 1, 2, 3. The one in the center there is a slightly oversized root pouch in a wicking barrel with some windows cut out. It didn't work too well, but that was more to do with the soil I had in there. So I decided to swap to this little design here. So as I said before, the tray down the bottom is made from a wicking barrel that I've recycled. I've come up around about 7 inches or 18 centimeters from the base, just marked out a line with a Nico pen. Just used my little jigsaw just to zap around there to take it off, and then cleaned off any of the burrs with a little deburring tool. Once the tray was cut to height, I then installed a couple of handles. It was pretty easy. I used the old handles from the old wicking barrel. It's a section of rope with some irrigation pipes slotted over the rope itself, just so it doesn't cut into your hands, and then tied off knots on the inside. All that means is you can use this to pick up the tray once the root pouch is taken off it, of course, and then move it around the patch somewhere else. These holes down here also serve as an indicator as to when the reservoir is full. When you're filling it up, you'll notice a little bit of a dribble of water there, and you can pretty much will turn off the tap. That's the tray, and inside of that I've made up a bit of a wicking arrangement. Now I like to use the 4-inch or 100mm slotted drainage pipe to create a void to hold water in the base of my wicking containers and now these wicking trays. Now with the slotted drainage pipe, its purpose is normally behind retaining walls and in low points in the yard. They're buried in the ground. Water goes through the slots into the void inside of it and is then taken away into a drain or a gutter somewhere. I'm using it as a reverse. The water is sitting inside it, leaking out through the slots into the sand and then is wicking up into the base of the root pouch. So as you can see, the pipe I'm using has a sleeve on it. That sleeve is there to stop any fine particles from clogging up the drainage pipe. You can buy just normal slotted drainage pipe and then pop a fabric over it, something that won't break down like a weed cloth or a geotextile, and that will prevent any sand from slowly filling up the void within the drainage pipe. At the end, I've also included this little fill tube. This is what will fill the reservoir in the base. I could have cut it down a little bit shorter to make it less conspicuous, but I thought I'd just leave it this long to give you guys a bit of an idea. The fill tube has a bit of a diagonal cut on the end of it to allow water to flow out freely into the reservoir itself. To install it, I've slipped it through the material that covers the drainage pipe, and then on the tray itself, I've drilled a couple of holes. Then also a third one on the fill pipe itself. Through the holes I've threaded a zip tie and done it up firmly. That just means that, you know, no rambunctious dogs chasing tennis balls or anyone else can dislodge the pipe, causing a bit of a mess. So once the slotted drainage pipe was installed, and as was the fill tube, I popped in some coarse sand that will be the wicking agent to bring the water up to the base of the root pouch itself. Now I've just used a purchased coarse sand I've got in bulk for a couple of recent wicking bed builds. You can also buy it in bags from hardware, but it is a little bit expensive when purchased that way. Now with the sand, I've filled the tray to about 20 to 25 mil from the top, or what's that, roughly 3/4 to an inch from the top, so I can set the root pouch on it, and then I've come around later and added a little bit more sand in just to bring it up to the level. Once the sand was leveled, I popped the pouch on and started to fill it with the soil blend I made up. The soil blend is basically 1 part of our own sieved compost with 2 parts of a good quality potting mix, and into that I also mixed through a handful of chicken-based slow release fertilizer pellet. When it came to planting the tree out, I just had to make sure that I didn't bury the graft point under the soil. If you do that, you can run the risk of the rootstock becoming the dominant plant, so that's something just to keep in mind. This one here is situated roughly around about 3 inches or 75 mil above the top of the soil line. I did run out of soil blend towards the end there, so I robbed an old root pouch I'm no longer using, added a bit of compost to feed it up, and that pretty much all finished off the planter. Once the tree was on there and it was exerting a little bit of weight on top of the sand, I then filled it up with the hose, and I did notice that some of the sand gave away. It's basically just settling into the tray itself. We're just using the water to wash it into all the nooks and crannies. I couldn't push it in when I was adding it, so I had to top up a little bit of sand around the edges, but that was pretty much all it. I will be something I keep an eye on though, just to make sure that we don't have any hassles with subsidence in there. One of the extra benefits of having sand or some sort of rocky medium over a self-watering reservoir is it stops mosquitoes getting in there and laying larvae. We do have a lot of mosquitoes in this area, so while I have been popping root pouches like this one here into a tray and filling it up with water, and we've got a little Lochinau spinach here in the same sort of setup, I do find that in weather events like we've had at the moment, we've had a couple of days of showers, we do end up, like this IBC banana wicking garden, I do find I end up with a bit of standing water in there, and if we have showers over the next few days, we will end up with mosquito larvae in there, and I'll have to drain it out. Here's another one, it's a mulberry, slowly losing its leaves because it's getting a bit cold here. And yeah, see, it's still got its water in there because it's not using a lot at the moment. So it's something I have to keep an eye on and monitor continually, because I definitely don't want mosquito outbreak here. So there are other ways you could set up the reservoir to create a bit of a void to hold water, and I'll put a link up in the corner there to some suggestions in a previous wicking barrel clip. The same could go for a little build like this. I've also got another clip where I've hooked up some self-watering wicking barrels to a top-up reservoir, and they've just got little sections of hose in between. Something like that could be applied to this little build as well, so I'll pop a link up there so you can check out that too. Now there are other self-watering systems made up for the root root pouches. There's the rain gutter grow system. People have used the root pouches with them with neck cuts cut into the bottom of the pouches. I just like these because they're disconnected and I can move them anywhere in the yard, and yeah, it's just easier for my purposes. In the future we'll probably have a crack at a rain gutter grow system. I just need to find a nice level flat area out of the way to set it up in. Now there's another idea I've been playing around with these pouches, turning them into self-watering units, and that is to use the larger 113 litre or 30 gallon pouch and popping the same reservoir insert into the base of the pouch itself so it's concealed, and then have the watering tube come up and out and over the edge, and it just makes a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I myself like this plastic edge because when I get the line trimmer out here I won't cut into the pouch itself, but if you'd like to set up the pouch just by itself and have a concealed watering reservoir, that would work. Probably not something I would plant a tree in because the reservoir would take up so much of the pouch itself, but with a 30 gallon or 113 litre pouch, you've got more than enough space to plan out probably half a dozen lettuce, a couple of carrot and a basil up the back. You could pretty much well do a little bit of a polyculture little self-watering container garden. So I think this little dwarf lemon's going to do okay in this self-watering root pouch arrangement, and I do hope this clip has helped you folks out who have been asking me for ideas on how to turn the root pouches into a little standalone self-watering system. Just to let you know again, as I said at the start of the clip, I do sell root pouches through our little blog store here. There'll be a link in the description below. Not only that, we do have an Amazon affiliate store now. It's not our own store, we're just an avenue for you guys to go and buy root pouches over in the States from a supplier we know and trust. So check that out as well if you're interested in buying some root pouches. There's also the links you can check out on the wicking barrels, just to give you some ideas on how these reservoirs are set up, or if you want to have a crack at making the wicking barrels yourself. I do hope you guys are all well and happy and you've gotten something out of the clip, and I will catch you all next time. Cheers folks, have a great one. It's starting to rain and Lizzie wants to play ball. Good girl, come here, come here, that way. I gotta finish the clip, sweetie. One more, closer. There we go. No more, Lizzie, no more. Good girl.